What if the person who changed your life wasn't a doctor, a teacher, or even a family member, but a stranger who saw something nobody else did? Imagine a boy, silent for nearly a decade, trapped in a world where words couldn't escape, suddenly finding his voice because of one woman's extraordinary act of connection. This is the story of Ethan, a boy whose silence baffled experts, broke his family's hearts, and seemed unbreakable, until a maid named Maria walked into their lives. Her approach wasn't rooted in medical expertise or fancy techniques, it was something far simpler yet infinitely more powerful: human connection. This isn't just a story about a miracle, it's about the quiet, persistent power of seeing someone for who they are. Prepare to laugh, cry, and believe in the impossible as we unravel how one woman's intuition shattered a wall that years of science couldn't touch. In a cozy, sunlit house on a quiet suburban street, life looked ordinary from the outside. Children zipped by on bicycles, dogs barked in backyards, and neighbors waved as they mowed their lawns. But inside the home of Sarah, Tom, their daughter Lily, and their son Ethan, the air was heavy with an unspoken weight. Ethan, a bright-eyed 6-year-old with a smile that could melt hearts, hadn't spoken a single word since he was 2. His silence wasn't a choice, it was a mystery that had consumed his family for years. As a toddler, Ethan had been a whirlwind of words. He'd chatter about his toy trucks, mimic cartoon characters, and giggle through made-up songs. Sarah and Tom treasured every syllable, each one a thread weaving their family closer together. But just before his 3rd birthday, Ethan's voice began to fade. His words grew sparse, his sentences shorter, until one day, they stopped entirely. No babbling, no whispers, not even a sound. It was as if someone had flipped a switch, locking Ethan's voice behind an invisible barrier. At first, Sarah and Tom clung to hope. Maybe it was a phase, they told themselves. Kids are quirky, maybe Ethan was just taking a break from talking. But weeks stretched into months, and months into years. By the time Ethan was 6, his silence had become a towering wall, separating him from the world. His big brown eyes still sparkled, and his hugs were warm, but the absence of his voice left a void that echoed through the house. Sarah and Tom weren't the type to give up. They were parents, and parents fight for their children, no matter the odds. They threw themselves into finding answers, dragging Ethan to every specialist they could afford. Pediatricians, speech therapists, neurologists, psychologists, they saw them all. MRIs scanned Ethan's brain, blood tests checked for hidden issues, and hearing exams confirmed his ears worked perfectly. Yet every test came back with the same frustrating result: normal. She wasn't a therapist or a doctor, she was just Maria, a woman who'd faced her own hardships and still found joy in the small things. Maria noticed Ethan from the start. While others might have tiptoed around the quiet boy or ignored him altogether, Maria didn't. She'd see him at the kitchen table, meticulously lining up his toy cars, and she'd talk to him as if he were any other kid. "Hey, Ethan, you think the red car's faster than the blue one?" she'd ask, not expecting a reply but acting as if she did. Sarah, preoccupied with her own worries, barely registered these interactions. Maria was kind, but kindness alone couldn't solve their problem, or so she thought. Maria's approach was different from the experts. She didn't come armed with clipboards or clinical strategies. Instead, she brought herself, her stories, her songs, her warmth. She'd hum while sweeping nearby, leave apple slices within Ethan's reach because she'd noticed he loved them, or casually set a toy guitar from her grandson next to him, saying, "Bet you could play a mean tune on this." When Ethan didn't respond, Maria didn't push. She just kept being there, day after day, a steady presence in his quiet world. Ethan's silence wasn't just a lack of words, it was a barrier that cut him off from the world. Simple moments most families take for granted, asking what he wanted for dinner, knowing if he was scared during a storm, were impossible. Sarah would watch Ethan play, his face a mix of focus and mystery, and wonder what thoughts were trapped behind those expressive eyes. Was he happy? Frustrated? Lonely? The not knowing was a daily ache, a reminder of the connection they'd lost. The silence took a toll on everyone. Sarah and Tom were drifting apart, not from lack of love but from the strain of carrying a shared grief. Their conversations, once full of laughter, now revolved around doctor's appointments and therapy schedules. Lily, craving attention, started acting out at school, her small rebellions a cry for someone to notice her. And Ethan remained an enigma, his smiles and hugs offering glimpses of the boy inside, but his thoughts locked away. The experts weren't helping. Over the years, the family had consulted more than 20 specialists, each offering a different theory. Selective mutism, where anxiety prevents speech, was one possibility, but Ethan's silence seemed deeper, as if he physically couldn't speak. Apraxia of speech, a neurological disorder affecting speech coordination, was another guess, but therapy for it yielded no results. Terms like global developmental delay felt like vague labels that explained nothing. According to the American Speech-Language Hearing Association, about 7% of children have speech or language disorders, but Ethan's case was an outlier. Progress typically seen by age 5 was absent at 9. The family was at a dead end, hope slipping through their fingers. One doctor even suggested Ethan was just stubborn, a comment that sent Sarah reeling. Stubborn? Her gentle boy wasn't stubborn, he was trapped, and no one could find the key to set him free. The family's life began to orbit around Ethan's silence. Sarah left her job as a graphic designer to focus on him, spending her days researching therapies and coordinating appointments. Tom, a high school math teacher, picked up extra tutoring gigs to cover the mounting medical bills. Their daughter Lily, only 10 years old, felt the strain too. She'd try to coax Ethan into games, hoping a laugh might spark a word, but his silence held firm. The house, once filled with the joyful chaos of family life, grew quieter, weighed down by worry and unanswered questions. The emotional toll was relentless. Sarah spent sleepless nights scouring online forums, searching for stories of children who'd overcome similar challenges. She'd replay Ethan's early years in her mind, wondering if she'd missed a warning sign or made a wrong choice. Tom, usually the family's problem solver, felt helpless. He could fix a broken sink or build a bookshelf, but he couldn't fix his son, and that failure gnawed at him. Lily, meanwhile, started to feel invisible, her own needs overshadowed by the family's focus on Ethan. The silence wasn't just Ethan's, it was seeping into every corner of their lives. Beyond the walls of their home, the world wasn't any kinder. At the park, other parents would stare when Ethan didn't respond to their children's chatter. "What's wrong with him?" they'd whisper, their words cutting Sarah like a knife. At school, Ethan was placed in a special education program, but even there, he struggled to fit in. Teachers sent home notes describing him as disengaged, a term that felt like an accusation. Sarah wanted to shout that Ethan wasn't disengaged. He was trying, in his own quiet way, to navigate a world that didn't understand him. By the time Ethan was 8, the family was running on fumes. They'd spent tens of thousands of dollars on therapies, from speech exercises to sensory integration techniques to experimental music programs. They'd tried sign language, picture boards, even equine therapy, anything that might break through. But nothing worked. Hope, once a blazing fire, was now a flickering ember, threatening to go out. Sarah and Tom began to wonder if Ethan's voice was gone forever, a thought that broke their hearts anew each day. Then came Maria. Hired as a maid to ease the burden on Sarah, who was stretched thin between Ethan's needs and household chores, Maria was a breath of fresh air. In her late 40s, with warm brown eyes and a laugh that could chase away shadows, Maria brought a vibrant energy to the house. She'd hum Mexican folk songs as she dusted, share stories of her childhood in a small village, and slip extra cookies to Lily with a playful wink. Maria didn't know the medical terms or the statistics. She didn't have a degree or a treatment plan. What she had was intuition, honed by years of raising her own children and navigating life's challenges. She watched Ethan, not as a puzzle to solve, but as a boy with a story to tell. She noticed how his eyes lit up when she hummed certain melodies, how his fingers tapped to the rhythm of her songs. She saw him lean in, ever so slightly, when she told Lily tales of her village in Mexico, the bustling markets, the scent of fresh tortillas, the laughter of her grandmother. One day, while cleaning the living room, Maria tried something new. Ethan was stacking blocks nearby, lost in his patterns. She started singing a silly song about a dancing frog, complete with exaggerated gestures and funny voices. Ethan didn't look up, but his hands paused, just for a moment. He was listening. Encouraged, Maria made it a habit. Every day, she'd sing or share a story, always near Ethan but never demanding his attention. She'd talk about her childhood, her dog Chico, or the time her brother got stuck in a tree. Her words weren't therapy, they were an invitation, a bridge to a world where Ethan might feel safe. Maria's small gestures grew into a quiet campaign. She brought tokens from her life, a woven bracelet, a photo of her dog, a wooden bird her father had carved. "This bird flew all the way from Mexico," she'd say, handing it to Ethan. He'd hold it, turning it over in his hands, and Maria would smile as if they'd shared a secret. Unlike the specialists, who pushed Ethan to perform, Maria let him be. She wasn't trying to fix him, she was building trust, one moment at a time. 6 months after Maria's arrival, on a quiet Tuesday afternoon, everything changed. Maria was in the kitchen, washing dishes and telling a story about Chico stealing a chicken, her laughter filling the room. Ethan sat at the table, arranging his cars. Sarah was in the living room, folding laundry, half listening to Maria's chatter. Then, a sound, a faint, breathy word, "dog." Maria froze, her hands dripping with soap. Sarah dropped her towel and ran to the kitchen, heart pounding. "What did you say?" she asked, her voice trembling. Ethan looked up, his eyes locking with hers, and repeated, "dog." He pointed at Maria's phone, where she'd shown him a picture of Chico earlier. Sarah's knees buckled. She sank to the floor, tears streaming, and pulled Ethan into a hug. Lily, home from school, burst in and screamed, he talked. The kitchen erupted in chaos, laughter, tears, and disbelief. Ethan, calm amidst the storm, smiled as if he'd known this moment was coming. That single word, "dog," was a crack in the wall. In the weeks that followed, more words followed, tentative at first, like car and apple, then phrases like want juice and go outside. Each word was a triumph, a step out of the glass box that had held Ethan for so long. Sarah and Tom were stunned. They'd spent years chasing solutions, yet Maria, with no training, had unlocked their son's voice. Maria's success wasn't luck, it was a perfect storm of instinct and empathy. Ethan's silence likely stemmed from a condition like selective mutism, where anxiety or trauma stifles speech. A 2018 study in the Journal of Child Psychology and Psychiatry notes that selective mutism affects roughly 1 in 140 children, often triggered by stress or social pressure. Traditional therapy focuses on reducing anxiety through structured exercises, but progress can be slow. Maria, unknowingly, created the ideal environment, low pressure, emotionally safe, and engaging. Her songs and stories weren't just entertainment, they were neurological tools. A 2020 Journal of Neuroscience study found that music and emotional connection can stimulate the brain's language centers, even in children with speech disorders. Maria's silly frog song and vivid tales activated Ethan's brain in ways that flashcards and drills never could. By sharing her world, her dog, her village, her laughter, she made Ethan feel seen, not as a patient, but as a person. A 2019 American Psychological Association report underscores this: trust and emotional safety are critical for children with communication challenges. Maria's presence was a safe harbor, allowing Ethan's voice to emerge. Today, Ethan is 11. He's not the chatterbox he was at 2, but his voice is his own. He tells Sarah he loves her, begs for pizza on Fridays, and bickers with Lily over who gets the front seat. His speech isn't perfect, some words come slowly, and he still has quiet days, but the silence that once defined him is gone. The family is healing, too. Sarah and Tom are reconnecting, their shared joy outweighing years of strain. Lily, no longer invisible, is thriving in school, proud of her brother's progress. Maria remains a fixture in their lives, more than a maid, she's family. Sarah calls her the miracle worker, but Maria brushes it off. I just talked to him, she says. He was always listening. Her humility belies the truth, she saw Ethan when others saw a problem. Her belief in him, built through small, consistent acts, gave him the courage to speak. Ethan's story is more than a medical breakthrough, it's a testament to the power of human connection. It reminds us that sometimes, the answers we seek aren't in textbooks or clinics, but in the simple act of seeing someone for who they are. Maria didn't have degrees or data, she had heart. Her songs, stories, and smiles built a bridge to Ethan, proving that even the tallest walls can crumble when someone believes in you. This story reminds us to look deeper and care more. A kind word or small act can spark real change. Like Ethan and Maria showed, extraordinary miracles often come from ordinary hearts.